Hi, my name is Hannah, and today we're interviewing Samir. We first met him in Malaysia in 2019. Samir is originally from South Africa and he is now based in Georgia. Samir is a software engineer invested in various companies and real estate. Today he gives us his view on key trends that require our attention as we emerge into a post-pandemic world.
This podcast channel is about you. Successful international entrepreneurs. Successful expats. Successful investors. Sponsored by HCJ.tax.
Okay, good afternoon, good evening, Samir. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing well. Good afternoon from Tiblisi.
Fantastic. Please, can you introduce yourself to those who may be watching or listening to you on this podcast?
Okay, so I'm Samir Franciscus. I'm from Cape Town, South Africa. I'm recently, I'd say almost for 1 year, I'm a digital nomad. Before that, I've worked as a software developer, software engineer, working for various companies in Cape Town, South Africa.
Mm-hmm.
Also contracted to a couple of companies around the world as well. So that's where my experience has been. And also trying a few startup companies as well over the years.
Mm-hmm.
I've got about, say, 18, 19 years experience. Come from a background of studying information technology, computer science in that field.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's pretty much my background. I enjoy traveling as well.
Mm-hmm.
At the moment, that's pretty much a no-no.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I find myself at the moment in Tiblisi, Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
Before lockdown was brilliant. I mean, now it's also quite good as well.
Mm-hmm.
Not as restricted as other places in the world that I hear about. So yeah, that's sort of what my history at the moment. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. So you're not just traveling because we've spoken offline, and you are in the process of helping the business that you have or you're invested in South Africa expand internationally as well. So that's part of what you're doing as well, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So in South Africa, I've got a partnership company with my brother Adib Franciscus. He's also more into the creative digital space essentially. So what we've done is we've sort of combined our efforts in the past. Well, we've always been together in business, but I've sort of, since I quit my job last year, I sort of combined my efforts with him.
Mm-hmm.
To sort of strengthen his capability in delivering technology projects and digital projects essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So part of the plan was for 2020 was to expand the business internationally, and got up to a very good start, but then it just sort of like stalled a bit during lockdown period.
Mm-hmm.
But it gave us a good chance to sort of identify like opportunities that could be out there, where we should refine our skills, where we should actually target our client base. And yeah, that's sort of the one business. The other business, I provide consultancy myself as well. I've got a company, nomadengineer.net. Essentially, I just provide IT consulting, like software development services for different companies that need it.
Mm-hmm.
Providing e-commerce solutions, like in chatbots, AI solutions maybe as well. Also providing like services in the blockchain, like more research and development as well. Then I've got another startup which I'm partnered with a South African partner as well, which is a South African company. It's a mobile app called AdWe.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm doing is I'm taking that same concept and I'm basically creating the app for Georgia itself and the surrounding region, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the two major ventures that I'm involved with at the moment. There's another company, Emerge Blockchain, as well. That's sort of also taking off, but it's not really taken off 100% yet. But yeah, those are the major companies I'm involved with here.
Okay, great. So, given that that expands within the IT and digital marketing space, obviously you and your business partners are spending considerable amount of time, as are we and other business owners, trying to figure out, okay, exactly what is the new world order? How are things going to operate going forward? And therefore, how should we adapt to it? So, with that in mind, could you share some of the insights that you and your partners have come up with? What are the main changes emerging, and how are you and your team adapting to that?
So, I mean, before like lockdowns obviously happened and it was enforced upon us, there used to be obviously there was a culture of working remotely with to a certain degree,
Mm-hmm.
but there wasn't really a culture, or there was an emerging culture of like just arranging online meetings, but it wasn't like a sort of a mainstream thing. But I think since lockdowns hit us, that was sort of becoming like a new normal in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And currently, it probably is a normal. It's not really a new normal anymore. It's become a normal in the past, I'd say, 3 to 6 months or so. And also seeking more clients internationally, seeking more business opportunities internationally. That's become more of an exercise that we're looking to do as well. And then refining our existing teams to sort of fit that operational model of working remotely, not working in the same location, leveraging the tools. Like for example, we're chatting via Zoom now, so leveraging those tools, and also like just maximizing our time to actually learn new skills as well. So that's sort of what we've been doing here.
Okay, so that is an important point to make, and it's something that as our team, as we discuss it and we digest it, we're beginning to understand the implications that working remotely is now obviously accepted. Before, we had clients that would insist, well, I need to see you, I need to meet you before I sign that engagement letter. Now it's, well, we can't see each other, so let's jump on Zoom, let's jump on Skype, whatever, have a conversation and just get this done. So, and part and parcel of that is greater reach. That's an opportunity because now I'm not restricted by geography. If there's no obligation to meet face to face, then we can pick up clients all over the world, and they don't need to know where we are. They don't need to, we're not, once we're willing to do and work with their time zones, that's fine. And so, so that does present itself as a fantastic opportunity. And not only can we service these clients, but we can service these clients in a low cost model because I don't need to jump on a plane like I was previously. If it is that we accept that the video conferencing is a valid way of maintaining a relationship and providing a service. So that's really good. But those are the obvious things. Let's go a little bit deeper. Is there anything any other ideas that you guys have come up with or explored or considered that is not so obvious given what we're going through?
Okay, like obviously, like industries we obviously see like lots of changes in the like supply chain industries are making lots of money nowadays, and there's lots of competition and innovation in that space as well, and lots of niches I see also emerging in that space. So also like on-demand type services as well, like the Uberification, I'd say, of business models. So getting things more real, service providers to provide their services in more real time and real time tracking and that sort of thing. So I see that sort of improving even more, I think. I'd probably see a focus towards like using more virtual reality as well. I've spoken to a couple of people in that field as well. In terms of like sort of if you need to demonstrate something remotely, like a skill, for instance, like let's say you need to fix a car, but the expert only exists in another country, for example. Then he can sort of like create a VR session with you, like that's a step up from a video session, and then show you, like demonstrate you how this the skill is actually performed, for example. So that's sort of more in the emerging technology space. Like what I found as well, like I was having some issues with some tenants with my properties back in South Africa, my rental properties. So if I needed to sign something, like sometimes people is more willing to accept digital signatures now compared to like scanning it in and sending a fax or emailing it and that sort of thing. So just to speed up the process of actually getting stuff done, people are open to that sort of thing now. Because they're in such a restrictive state, they're open to more things which will help them remove those restrictions.
That's a good point. Technology and the technology to do the things that we're doing now has been available for, honestly, decades. But there was a resistance that was nothing more than emotional. There was no legal reason for denying the use of technology in certain contexts, for example, signing contracts. There was no reason that we needed a wet signature in a contract. But, I mean, still people were insisting on it. And, here in the US, where court cases are being administered on Zoom. And again, there was no reason for people to physically go through traffic and whatever to go sit in a court and wait on their turn. This could have been done all the while. But now it's, there's no excuse. There's no excuse. And we're removing that emotional barrier. And we in a way, we're realizing a fuller potential from technology. In so many spaces where it could have led to efficiency, not just efficiency in terms of time and cost, but in terms of quality of life. We can spend less time in traffic and heavily congested area getting to someone's office just to execute a contract or just to decide a matter. It's giving us back our time in our life in a more meaningful way. So I think, that definitely needs to be acknowledged. Any other ways in which you see things changing?
I see from the property market, because I also do some property investing and things like that. Like what I see, people is moving towards more outside of the city into the suburbs type areas and more into rural type settings. I've seen it happening here in Tiblisi, particular, where some of the people have homes sort of outside of the actual metropolis. It's not really a metropolis; it's a small city. However, there's still that sort of thing taking place. So you'd probably see changes in that sort of patterns of habitation, and then possibly, I don't know, maybe in a few years' time it will change. I'm not sure, but during this period of COVID, for sure, people are trying to get the exposure as little as possible to crowds. I think Um, also, like growing themselves spiritually, I think as well. That's another thing that a lot of people is
Mhm.
focusing on nowadays. Um, yeah, that's sort of my 2 cents worth in terms of that.
Yeah, I mean, again, those are fair points. If it is you're telling me that remote working is going to be the norm, then not only do I not need to have an office in the center of Manhattan or London or Cape Town or Joburg or Singapore, I can be on the outskirts, but I can also be in another country once I'm willing to do the hours. And if it is that we're going to get into a cycle of lockdowns and reopenings as different waves of any virus would hit us, then you would want to, if you can afford it, have somewhere with a bit of space, right? So
Yeah,
if you're in a tiny apartment in Hong Kong or Manhattan, if there's a lockdown, those four walls will kind of like start to close in on you. Whereas if you were in a larger accommodation situation in the outskirts of Tiblisi or somewhere else or Bali in a villa or whatever, then suddenly being in a lockdown is not such a bad thing because
yeah,
I can go for a walk in my garden. You can enjoy a certain quality of life. And so you mentioned, or you used the term earlier, digital nomad. To me,
yeah,
specifically, that was used to describe people who were, kind of like barely getting by. They're doing little odd jobs. They're barely scraping a living, and they're living in, tents or youth hostels or whatever, just trying to scrape together the next meal. Now, I think that term or that association is being challenged because there are people who are running relatively successful businesses on 7, 8, even 9 figures US dollars, and
yeah,
they are living remotely and they are traveling the world as staying where they want to, or perhaps they have 2, 3, or 4 countries in which they have homes, and they just hop from one to another. But and they may describe themselves as a digital nomad, but definitely on the higher end of the socioeconomic spectrum.
yeah.
So I think we should expect to see an expansion of that concept.
Yeah, for sure. So, so I mean, I've looked at some concepts like flag theory, for instance. Like
Mm,
you've got your tax residence, you've got your home residence, your investment residence, your business residence, for example.
mm,
So, I mean, those sort of things come into play when you're sort of expanding your business internationally as well, or your skill set internationally as well.
mm,
Um, and obviously, there are going to be various degrees. Like you'll have a solopreneur, you'll have a freelancer, you'll have someone that just likes to travel, for instance.
mm,
And you get the guy that's seriously interested in business, that's going to be an entrepreneur, but doesn't like to be based just in one location.
mm,
He likes the idea of traveling the world. He likes the idea of meeting new people, new cultures, assimilating in different cultures. Also, not tying his his roots just to one place, because
mm,
that place could actually not exist maybe in the next 10 years or so.
mm,
Um, so so not like becoming too emotionally attached to one place, but sort of like spreading your risk in a way.
mm,
I think that's probably the point of flag theory in a way.
mm,
So, I mean, I probably see myself as, in terms of, I mean, when I started this whole journey, I saw myself maybe as a digital nomad, like a freelancer type
mm,
role, but I've seen myself more as like a entrepreneur type role now, and then going towards that, like the more of the 6, 7 figure entrepreneur type
mm,
role that runs multinational companies, but then has different bases around the world.
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, that would be my next goal. Yeah.
Mm. So I'm glad that you raised the idea or the concept of flag theory. And to be fair, you're the first person that I've spoken to in this series of interviews that has raised it. And I think it is absolutely a core concept, especially in this post-pandemic world where you can, for example, and I gave the example in my book, in my first chapter, that you may be banking in one jurisdiction and then suddenly you find yourself locked out because of travel restrictions, because of a lockdown or whatever. And if it is that you, sorry, on my desk right now, I have my bank token. If it is that you're using a bank token to access your money and you left it because you intended to be on a short trip and suddenly you're locked out and you have no access to money. Or if you lose your credit card or your bank card and your bank has a strict policy of only delivering a card to your registered address, then you're in trouble, you know? So they just for basic scenarios like that, having a diversified lifestyle works. And then as we emerge into a space or an era where there's more economic nationalism, business policies are changing, restrictions on foreign investment, foreign ownership of assets. You know, if it is that you had all of your eggs in one particular jurisdiction and the government of the day changes and they revoke your work pass, your permanent resident, or they seize your assets, as the case may be, trouble, right? So the idea really is to not have to not be 100% exposed to any one jurisdiction, that you have a fairly diversified portfolio, not just of income streams, but where your wealth is being stored and administered, and also yourself, so that you, because when there was in the height of the lockdown, unfortunately we're coming out of it, most countries just, you cannot move. But then there were countries that said, okay, you can come back if you are a citizen, if you are a permanent resident. So, and in some scenarios, having a passport from a country like, say, Iran or Italy at the beginning meant that you were persona non grata in most of the parts of the world as an Italian. The only way you can get, the only place you can go is back home, but good luck in getting a flight to go back home. So again, having a second residency, having a second passport is no longer a luxury. It is part of the necessary tools that you always have on you as you do business internationally. So I think I just want to reinforce that point that you made about flag theory. That is more important now than ever before in recent history. So yeah, fair point.
Yeah, so I mean, countries like, for example, like Estonia, they've also made like strides in terms of divorcing the sort of like the e-citizenship program, like sort of digitizing that sort of component, making it sort of like you could say like using the term software as a service, but you'll say country as a service in a way. So I mean, you could possibly see more countries moving in a similar direction, using that as maybe a revenue stream as well, to actually gain more revenue through that, I think. So I mean, Georgia itself, I know they adopted the Estonian model. Speaking to accountants here as well. They haven't digitized as much, but I mean, I think they're probably on their way to doing something like that.
You know, certain jurisdictions have taken advantage, and they were prescient in seeing these trends and seeing the emergence of a class of, well, not, I won't use the term digital nomads. I feel more comfortable with international entrepreneurs. And you're right, Estonia being one of the trailblazers. But now you have other jurisdictions like Bulgaria, other European jurisdictions catching up. And, you know, Estonia is not very tax efficient. So then you have choices in like the Middle East, Dubai, the Caribbean, and so on and so forth. So these are jurisdictions where they're encouraging you to set up businesses, and in addition to encouraging you to deposit money in their accounts, or in addition to encouraging you to invest in real estate or to take up some sort of residency.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, there's a competition for talent, I think, globally. I think cities are increasingly recognizing that the war is not about natural resources, but attracting talent. Because when you attract talent to your borders, obviously, not just you get the tax revenue, you get the exchange of knowledge, sharing of technology, and helping you in your development efforts. So I see that as well. I see a competition for talent.
Yeah.
And I see some like Tiblisi, like Georgia, they are catching up. And then I see jurisdictions like Singapore on the other side of the spectrum, where they were where Georgia was, like, let's say 15, 20 years ago. And they don't necessarily need that anymore, where their threshold is pretty high. Whereas like Georgia is attracting someone to set up a company, Singapore is attracting someone to set up a family office and bring tens of millions of dollars in to run investments from Singapore as a hub. So it's a different threshold, which is fine, because what it means is that there's an opportunity for everyone. If you are if you're a 5-figure entrepreneur, there's something like in Estonia. Whereas if you are an 8-figure, 9-figure fund manager, you have your Luxembourgs, you have your Caymans, you have your Singapore. So there's something for everyone. So, but then what about information? This is cutting edge stuff. It's hard to find, and there's a lot of misinformation and disinformation online. How do you navigate through this to figure things out?
So, I mean, I've been researching this stuff for about, say, a year or so. Georgia, I was in Malaysia, I was in Japan, Malaysia. That's where I met you, in Malaysia last year, Kuala Lumpur. Did some research there on their business environment. Then I started doing research more on like Slovenia as well, Portugal, like the Western European countries as well. But then I looked at Estonia as well. Then I looked at Georgia as well, and I made some connections on the ground through social media, through LinkedIn. Studied various articles online, studied various interviews on YouTube, informational videos on YouTube. Bought some books as well with people who are like successful entrepreneurs in this space as well. And also I had like a good conversation with you in Kuala Lumpur as well. You also opened my insight into certain things. So I think that's sort of how I gained my information, and I also stored a lot of the information on, like, I stored it on my Google Cloud accounts basically, and then reference it when I need to reference that. And eventually I'd filter through, okay, this is the approach I need to take, this is the contact I need to have when I reach a specific city. This is the way I'm going to open a company, this is the way I'm going to open a bank account. And sort of, like, for example, in Georgia, for instance, I was going to initially just spend like 3 months here, open a bank account, open a company, see what that experience is like. But then I sort of liked the environment, the culture, and that sort of thing. So I know there's better jurisdictions in terms of tax efficiency, like Dubai, for instance. But because I like the culture and the environment that it's in here. I think that's an important aspect to also your decision of choosing some of your residences or your flags, or planting some of your flags, basically. Um, yeah, so I mean, you sort of like, as you go along, you'll filter information. You speak to various people on the ground. You assemble your teams on the ground, like your tax accountants on the ground, your legal experts on the ground, your banking experts, your property experts on the ground. You sort of, as you navigate your way through your time in the jurisdiction that you're based. I'd say that's how you build up your information, I'd say. Yeah.
Okay. So
and also what I've done as well is from my experience, what I in my field obviously is attend a lot of meetups in my field as well, and that also helped me to network with a lot of different people as well. Like chambers of commerce are good networking points as well. Even like language clubs at different events, you even meet people as well. So yeah.
And that's another good point. Your network is your net worth, right? And sometimes members of my team are in different Facebook groups, and they share with me the questions and the conversations going on, and I get scared sometimes, and then I just feel sorry for those people who are taking that as advice, because they're going to get into so much trouble. But I think it is, in a way, it's like a filter, because if it is that you are a more sophisticated entrepreneur, you know where to go instinctively, and it's not going to be a Facebook group where random faceless people are giving opinions. As you say, LinkedIn, you go to various chamber events, you meet people who are qualified and experienced in their field, and that's where you get your information. So I'm just remembering now some of the comments that I've seen in certain groups recently, but I guess it's as I remember from university, caveat emptor, buyer beware, and people get into a lot of trouble because there is a deficit of information, especially if you're moving into trying to do business in a new jurisdiction. It's hard to figure it out, and you can fall victim to misinformation. But I think you've given some sage words of advice, chambers and professional associations. And I think as I step back and I reflect on the conversation we've had over the past 30 minutes or so, I think you've given us a lot of food for thought. And I think what makes this conversation pop, as opposed to some of the others that we've had recently, is your reference to flag theory, especially because that is a fantastic framework that guides the way the strategy that you adopt, and also the idea of being free. I'm imposing my terms now on what you shared. The freedom to find somewhere that you like. As you said, it's not just about being tax efficient. If you enjoy the quality of life in a jurisdiction, and you're comfortable with the cost that comes with that quality of life, you are entitled and you're free to pay it. You're free to set up companies where you wish, you're free to bank where you wish, you're free to reside where you wish, you're free to invest where you wish. So I'd say one of the overarching themes, aside from flag theory, is freedom.
Yeah.
Do you agree? Yeah.
So I mean, like just in terms of, certain people might be in different stages in the development as well. So
sure, yeah.
You might only be, like, let's say, comfortable in this region now, but maybe in 5-10 years time you'd grow your business maybe to 5, 7, 8 figures or something like that. Then you'd probably be more advised to actually put your money in a different jurisdiction, for instance. So it purely depends on your stage of business development as well, as an individual as well, I'd say.
Yeah, and so that ties into a point that you raised earlier. So again, it may not be at the right you may not be at the right stage to have a board of directors, but at least have a network of advisors, as you said earlier.
Exactly.
So if you have a legal question, this is who you go to. If you have a banking question in this jurisdiction, this is who you speak to. So to develop that network.
Yeah, and I mean, sometimes you can even do like trading type services. I mean, I wouldn't advise, but maybe sign some sort of memorandum of understanding between you two, where you get like say 2 hours of service per month, and then you offer them something for 2 hours, and then you sort of have that arrangement going. Maybe that could be a way, if while you're developing your corporation or your team, I'd say. And yeah, I mean, don't try and overcapitalize as well, because and over finance yourself, because that could lead to other issues as well. Don't try and take on too much investment if your idea is also good. Try and keep as much equity as you can for your startup, I'd say. But I mean, if it's viable to give away as much equity, then it's viable. But I mean, your IP is always going to be your IP, I suppose.
I want to grab one of the points that you just made. The first one about bartering services. That reminds me, there's a television series called Shark Tank.
Sure.
You're familiar with it. And one of the sharks, they're all obviously very high net worth individuals. And one of the sharks, I think, is Leary from Canada. And he has that arrangement. He disclosed, because I follow him on YouTube as well. So in terms of his due diligence, so if someone comes to him with a deal, there's this particular team of advisors and accountants that he hands it over to, and they do the due diligence for free. And because they know, and they are willing to do it for free. Why? Because if it came via this guy, it must be a quality lead. And so then they'll do the due diligence, and they will put some skin in the game as well. They would co-invest with him. So again, so he gets free due diligence, and then the other team gets a fantastic deal flow. So everyone wins. So it kind of echoes what the point that you raised. Samir,
I think I'm going to use that.
Yeah. Fantastic, Samir. Thanks for your time. I appreciate it.
Okay.
You've brought a lot of value to those who may be watching or listening.
Okay. Thanks for having me.
No problem at all.
Okay.